Hello and welcome to your Daily Detroit, sharing what to know and where to go in Southeast Michigan. It's Monday, January 6th, 2025. There is a lot of ice on the roads as we are recording this. Kind of slip and slid my way into Tech Town to record this. Joining me on the line is none other than Fletcher Sharpe. How are you doing wherever you are?
It's cold. And I have family in Ohio that are like, is it snowing up there? And I'm like, no, it's not. It's actually just cold. It's like drifting a little bit now, but they've been getting hit with snow for the past day and a half or so. And I wish if it's going to be around 20 degrees that we got snow as well, because at least you get the full winter experience. Just getting 20 degrees and it being like a gray day it sucks.
So be careful out there. And you know who had to bear with that cold weather and ice? The people putting on the Lions jersey for the Spirit of Detroit. If you go down to the Coleman A. Young Municipal Center or City Hall, you will see that the iconic statue has the Lions jersey as we are now in the playoffs. It is a thing after last night's 31-9 Vikings loss, and the Lions will have a bye week. We will have home playoff game, hopefully games, and this is huge news for the city. I went back and looked last year. The people from Visit Detroit estimated that it would be a $20 million economic impact as far as going to the bars, parking, hotels, all that stuff. And it's big news for the city. It's big news for fans, and it's about to be an exciting time. I mean, I hope we have as many home games as possible, but that's just how I feel about things.
Economic impact for the game last night. The Vikings spent nearly $2 million to get extra tickets. Typically, teams allocate tickets for the away team, but the Vikings wanted more of their fans there. So they spent $2 million on the secondary market to bring up almost 2,000 tickets to Ford Field, which to me doesn't really seem like a smart investment of money. Given that Ford Field's capacity is 65,000, and the game last night, you could not see any purple. It's not like when Lions fans go to other stadiums and like Lambeau Field is half green, half blue, or Candlestick Park out in California is half blue. It's like the Vikings are like, we're here, and it's like, where are you? We don't see you, we don't hear you, and that was a major point last night as the Lions used a rocking Ford Field to eventually bend the Vikings into submission and cruise through at the end.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think that the Vikings gave their fans much to cheer about. I mean, there was definitely some grinded out in the first half, but Sam Darnold, you were right. He was like Sam Duck Darnold, throwing ducks everywhere.
I say this point whenever I talk about people bringing up old. They're like, oh, the Lions were bad in 2010. And it's like, all right, who talks about previous seasons during the current season? That's what losers do. So, like, I know, like, that comes back. People are like, why are you talking about Sam Darnold from before instead of this season? I'm like, very fair point. Up until this year, Sam Darnold had been a not very good quarterback. This year, he had a quality team around him for the first time. He did some things well, but there are some games this year where he would show, like, he's still Sam Darnold of old. He's a professional pants caker. When the game's on the line, he's going to make a mistake. And last night he went, 19 for 41? I'm not really good at math, but like I know it's under 50%. I know it's not over 50%. And to make matters worse, his number one target, Justin Jefferson, who is a star. I'm not even going to pretend like he's not a star. He got locked up by Meek Robertson. And I don't mean like, save for that one play where there was a delay of game where the whole defense was calling for delay of game and the Vikings snapped the ball and Jefferson got open for a big gain that ended up being a field goal. That was it. Justin Jefferson did not contribute really anything else to that game, and it's because he got locked up by a former high school rival and Amik Robertson. They both grew up an hour apart from each other in Louisiana. And yeah, you take away Sam Darnold's first option, he's not going to go anywhere else, and he showed that yesterday with just his inability to get out of his own way. He held onto the ball too much. He took hits, and honestly, the Lions' defense is kind of maligned. They played great, but a quarterback's going to hold onto the ball forever plays into that fact, because now if your pass rush isn't getting there, if he's going to keep holding on to the ball, now you can keep rushing at him, and now your defensive backs can move around, and if they lose a guy, they get a chance to maybe get back in place to make some plays. So while they didn't force a turnover at all, they made his life terrible. I think it was a season high 15 pressures on Sam Darnold from the Lions, which means he was not throwing the ball with his feet set. He was throwing the ball running for his life.
I love that you gave Amik some shine because he definitely deserves it. Like, it's a big deal. Him stepping up. I think Anzalone did a great job coming back from that injury, doing the best that he could. But this was the Jahmyr Gibbs show.
Oh, for sure. And to mention Anzalone before we get to Gibbs, to show how different the defense is with and without him, he's playing again with like 1.5 arms. His other arm's in a cast. Well, he can still move it. It's not at the best way. And he was flying around. He made TJ Hawkinson not want to come back to Ford Field ever again. And he was on him the entire game. I remember there was one play where TJ Hawkinson actually made a play. He caught a ball, like a first positive play in a while. He went to flip the ball to the referee, and Anzalone just batted the ball away, where he's like, I'm not letting you have anything tonight. And that was just that type of night for him. But to your point, Jahmyr Gibbs, coming out party for him. If you didn't know about Jahmyr Gibbs before in the national audience, you definitely know now. Scored the most touchdowns this season by a professional player with 20. An amazing, fast, dynamic player who they always bring it up when they drafted him. It's like, this is a bad pick, taking a running back at 12. And I don't know, man. It looks pretty great then. I'll admit I wasn't necessarily super high on it, but I've seen Jahmyr Gibbs in college, and I'm like, I'm not going to tell an Alabama player that they're bad when you draft them unless it's one of their quarterbacks. But I'm not going to tell a position player from Alabama, like, this is a bad pick, because they're all super talented to go there. And he's definitely flourished as a player, and people wondered if he could be a number 1 back by himself. And against the number 3 defense in the NFL, he showed very much he can do that and then some.
What was the difference in this game? Because this was expected to be a shootout. It was not. The Lions defense, although battered, looked really good. Like, although maybe not the best defense in the NFL with the current player set, this is more than serviceable. Like, this is a good defense. It's not the best. There's still not Aiden Hutchinson. There's still pieces missing, but that was a good defensive show.
So when Aiden Hutchinson went down, the Lions kind of already blitz as is with Aaron Glenn. He's not necessarily blitz happy, but he's someone who wants to put pressure on. But without Aiden Hutchinson, who has a high motor, who can do stuff by himself, one-man wrecking crew, the Lions turned up the blitzing pressure a lot more. And if you're going to blitz, you have to play man coverage. If you're going to play man coverage, you have to be sticky. Like, that's kind of why a lot of the pass interference plays and holding calls happened earlier in the year. It's because they were not adjusting to playing sticky and staying on their guy. They figured out a way to make it work. And as a result, you see what happened. They got called for, I think, 4 or 5 holding calls last night in the defensive secondary. Nothing big, no super big pass interference plays. Because I'm not saying that holding is right, but like, they're doing it in a way where it's only going to cost you 5 yards and not going to cost you like 60 or something. And receivers hate that. They hate that. Receivers are the biggest diva position in the NFL, and like, they rightfully so. They get big yards to get down the field and whatever, but like, they think that they are God's gift to the sport. And if you put hands on them, most receivers, say for like DK Metcalf or Amon-Ra St. Brown, you put hands on those two, they'll gladly put hands on you back. Like, they don't care. But like, most receivers, you put hands on them, the look is to go, ref, they're touching me. Ref, he's grabbing me. Ref, what's happening? And Justin Jefferson, as great of a player as he is, all the Little Caesars commercials he's in, you put hands on him and it's like, yeah, I don't want to run this route anymore. And Amik had him in a lockdown. He had him on 23-hour supervision. You go out 1 hour to go play in the yard, and you go back in the cell. And yes, every other defensive back, even Kendall Vildor, was playing great and to spell Terrion Arnold after an injury. Like, it showed that they are moving as one beat. And while it's not necessarily the best defense in the NFL, it's probably one of the most cohesive ones right now because everyone is playing their role really well. You have players who are there literally, like Pat O'Connor, who left with an injury, unfortunately. He was literally just there to cause chaos. He was not there to create sacks. He was not there to make tackles. He was there to get in the way legally and then let everyone else get in there and make some plays. And it worked really well against an offense that honestly was kind of humming at that point.
Justin Jefferson was neither hot nor ready for this game.
Yeah, no, it makes it even funnier. Again, talented player. But before the game, he was asked, can anyone out there cover you? And he was like, no, I don't think so. Before that game, before yesterday's game, put a microphone in his face, and he was like, "Did anyone out there cover you?" And he's like, "I don't think so." And to his credit, when they played against the Vikings earlier, Amik Robertson, who's playing more in the slot, got beat for a nice catch and play from Darnold to Jefferson for a touchdown, and Jefferson let him know in the end zone before doing his celebrated gritty dance. Amik, when they brought him from the Raiders, he was an outside corner. Like, I know he's not like the tallest. Typically, your outside corners are kind of bigger, stronger, and then your slot ones are the smaller ones. Amik is more built like a slot corner, but he's like Mike James and Lindsey Hunter with the Pistons when they won. He's a pit bull. Like, if he gets in your chest, you are not getting rid of him. Only way you're going to get rid of him is if he chooses to then either fake like he got pushed over or you outrun him. But if you are trying to go man for man strength with Amik Robertson, built like a fire hydrant, you are not getting him off of you. And once he got his hands on Justin Jefferson, that was it for him. He spent the rest of the game wondering, instead of looking for the ball, he's wondering, I got to get 21 off me. I got to get 21 off me. He's not thinking about actually making a play on the ball, actually trying to contribute to the offense. He was thinking about, I got to get this guy off me before I can turn around. And meanwhile, he's doing that, his quarterback's running for his life, trying to throw the ball to anybody. But Justin Jefferson was probably in like his own ring of hell. He was in a loud stadium that was rooting against him. He didn't get to do any of his touchdown celebrations that I know they rehearsed. He's getting locked up by a guy who remembers him from high school, who he's been battling since sophomore, junior year. And to make matters worse, when he finally makes a play late, Kendall Vildor comes and punches the ball out of his hands. Like, do you know how bad your life has to be going that, like, the cherry on top is? Like, the worst cover players, like, you made a play? No, you didn't. Incomplete. And it was almost a fumble. If he'd taken one more step, that was a fumble the Lions picked up and we're going to return it somewhere deep into Vikings territory. So he had probably his worst game of the year by far. And I mean, it's not all the way his fault because, again, Sam Darnold was running for his life behind the line. But, like, at some point, I even said at halftime, they're going to start forcing the ball to Justin Jefferson because he is their best receiver. They're going to have to get the ball to him in some capacity, so be ready for it. And they just couldn't do it because they didn't have time to do it. And when he did, they were covered. And again, TJ Hawkinson, people were like, he used to be a Lion. How did he get to Minnesota? And it's like, well, he was talented. He was quick. He could block well. He just couldn't catch when it mattered. He could not. And there was a play where Alex Anzalone, it was clear pass interference. The ball was coming and Anzalone literally smacked him in his chest. For sure, smacked him in his chest before the ball got there. But the ball hit both of Hawkinson's hands, and he still dropped it. Like, if I'm a referee, it's passing. I'm not rewarding you with a flag for that. Catch the ball. Like, it's one thing if it happens and, like, you miss whatever, but, like, you literally hit one and then deflect it off. And catch the ball, man. You are there to make a play. Stop playing for flags. It felt in the second half the Lions started playing with more pressure, and the Vikings started playing to try to draw flags and do what they can. And referees are not going to reward you if you're playing literally to just get bailed out.
To me, it sounds like if the Vikings make it back to Ford Field, they are going to be pretty motivated and pretty charged up to try to, like, prove themselves because this did not look good for Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't anticipate Justin Jefferson leaving Ford Field again with 57 yards, 54 yards if they come back. Like, I imagine he's going to get like 20 targets. Might only end up having 8 or 9, but he's going to have at least 100 yards, maybe a touchdown. There's no way that they're going to just let this stand. He was in such a sour mood, he left the field without shaking anyone's hands. Just put his towel over his head and walked away. So I know that's going to burn his memory for sure. And honestly, that's a little scary because, again, really talented receiver. I've seen him make some plays that, save for like Calvin Johnson or someone who's like just built differently, I did not expect to see him make. But right now, they don't have to worry about that. They just get the rest. And especially with Terry and Arnold picking up an injury during the game, which looked not great. Kevin Zeitler on the line, pulling up lame with his leg. Pat O'Connell like left the game for a moment, did not return. If some players who maybe get an extra week to rest is great. Like they mentioned, the Lions' bye week was in week 5, which meant they've been playing for 3 straight months. Every week they've had a game for almost 3 months. So having an extra week off to just rest and train up and do what you need to do is great. My only worry about that is kind of like you saw the college football playoffs. Every team that had a bye when they played their first game, they came out flat and got smoked. And like, it would be a real shame if that were to happen, because the Lions currently, something that's never been said before. Like, maybe it's been said by like someone's tipsy uncle in their basement, but like never out loud. The Lions are the number one team in the NFL currently. When you look at the standings, they are at the top. When they go, if they're going to draft right now, the Lions would have the last pick in the first round. Like, of course, now that goes to the Super Bowl winner. But like, if you're going strictly based off records, the Lions have the best record in the NFL, which has never happened at the end of a season. It's very odd to be saying this out loud. I feel like it's a fever dream, but like, the Lions are the best team in the NFL, and they have one of the best point differences in the NFL as well, which is, again, given the fact that point difference means your offense is scoring, your defense is stopping people, the defense being built the way that it's built, and they're still out there scoring points like that and finding ways to win. It's wow. It's rarefied air. Feels like I'm still underselling it with how it feels currently if you support this team and have supported this team for so long. If Dan Campbell does not win Coach of the Year, I don't know what else he has to do. I would have thought he would have won it last year, but okay, that's fine. But if he doesn't win it this year for what he's done with this team, and him and his coaching staff and the deficiencies they've had and the way they've just kind of pushed through, I don't know what he's got to do it at this point. If he's got to pay someone, okay, fine. But like, he coached his butt off. And 3-4 years ago when they signed him, this is not what I saw he'd be doing at all. I thought he'd be coaching as someone's, defensive coordinator or like linebackers coach. But he's taken one of the teams that notoriously has an issue finishing games and somehow instilled in them that they have to finish these games, and they've been finishing these games to a plumb. And it's I don't really have the words for it right now.
So it's not really worth speculating who we're going to face, what's going to happen in 2 weeks, because honestly, we don't know with how the NFL playoffs work, right, Fletcher?
It's a bit different than, say, like college football playoffs or the NBA playoffs, where they reseed after the first bye week. So the Lions could play anywhere between the number 4 seed Rams or the number 7 seed Packers. So they could play the Rams, the Vikings, the Commanders, or the Packers. And they haven't played the Commanders yet this year, but they've beaten the other 3 teams, 2 of them twice. So, it's really a big wash in who they could play, but it really will make it exciting for Lions fans to have a nice weekend to watch football that does not include being stressed out about their team. And they can just say, well, we'll see who we play next. We could do this or this. Personally, I think I'd rather play the Packers or the Commanders, because the Packers, they just look defeated, and the Commanders are whoever. But it'll be a nice weekend to watch some football and then, speculate after that.
Well, we're going to leave it there. Fletcher Sharpe, so good to talk to you.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
With that, I'm Jairus Days. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to our members on Patreon, patreon.com/Daily Detroit, because local media needs local support to survive. Remember that you are somebody, and we'll talk tomorrow.